Sairam. He told you that a part of the uh, conversation of Swami related to a bhakta is missing. Was missing in the earlier two sessions, so he is giving it just now. This is found in a website, Sai Sarathi. He has to read it out verbatim because it's a conversation. Bhakta. Swami, what is Antarkarana? Swami. Karana means Indriya or senses. Antarkarana means internal Indriya. So, the questions you have to understand, it is from the Bhakta. So, are they internal Indriyas and external Indriyas too? Yes, of course. The external Indriyas are called Karma Indriyas. The internal Indriyas are named Jnana Indriyas. Swami, please tell me which are the Karma Indriyas and Jnana Indriyas. Well, all bodily acts are by Karma Indriyas. They are 5 in number. Those that impart jnana from inside are named Jnanendriyas. These are hearing, touch, sight, taste, smell. Both these together are called Dashendriyas, 10 organs. So how do they function? What is the connection between their function and the manas or the mind? Well, really, whatever work they do, they can't achieve anything without the meditation of the manas. The Karmendriyas perform acts in the world and receive knowledge. And the Jnanendriyas discriminate the good and the bad and offer them to the Atma through the manas. If there is no mind at all, how can this be transmitted? What we have to reach, when we have to reach the other shore of a flooded river, we rely on the medium of a boat or a raft. When the Karmendriyas and Jnanendriyas are connected with Prakriti and desire to attain the Atma, they have to accept the help of the boat, the manas. Otherwise, they cannot attain their goal. If so, where do Buddhi, Chittam and Ahankara reside? They too are in this only. The Jnanendriyas and Karmendriyas are together called Dashendriyas. Of course, 4 are distinguished and referred to as the internal 4 Indriyas. These are Manas, Buddhi, Chittam and Ahankara. Very nice. Swami, what is the function of these 4? Manas grasps the object. Buddhi examines arguments for and or against. Chittam understands the object by these means. Ahankaram changes the decision for or against and by attachment slackens the hold of jnana. These are the things they do. Excuse me, Swami, where do they exist in the body? Manas is in the head. Buddhi is in the tongue. Chittam is in the navel. And Ahankaram the heart. Excellent, Swami. So Buddhi and Ahankaram are the most important places. As Buddhi is in tongue and Ahankaram in the heart. These are the chief causes of all world's miseries. Thus, if we examine it with reference to your words, it looks as if there will be no misery when these two places are purified. you have indeed listened to me attentively. Yes, this is right. First, tongue. The words should be used in a clean and a pure manner. That is the proof of buddhi treading the right path. When ahamkaram is suppressed and conquered, that is the proof of the heart being pure. Therefore, be very careful with regard to these two. Then, even your manas and chitta will come to have good vrittis. Then only will you be free from pain and misery. Bhakta. So, among all these, who is the I who experiences all this? Now, coming to the crux, coming to the core, and believe me, brothers and sisters, any incarnation, any guru will endlessly wait only for this question from a fired up mumukshu or a sadhaka. That who in me is experiencing all this? This is that time for takeoff of the disciple or the bhakta. Swami, we have arrived at the right point. That is the good question. You are none among all these. All these exist only so long as the feeling this body is mine exists. Avidya asmita. They are all associated with some activities or vrittis. The Atman that observes all these vrittis, that is you, Satchit Por. We went through the Panchakoshas, we went through the three states of consciousness, and we had three tests. He's not getting into it. Through three tests, we went through all the koshas from Annamaya to Anandamaya and arrived at that one witness, which is changeless, which is pure Chaitanya. And one more test, three tests. So, the joy and sorrow, the loss and misery, the good and bad of these activities are all related to the body only. And so, they are not yours. They will not be yours. You are the pure Atman self. Until this truth is realized, you sleep the sleep of I and mine. In that sleep, dreams appear of loss, memory, sorrow, and joy. The dreams persist only until you awake, and after you wake up, the fear you had while dreaming, the sorrow you had experienced, all disappear. Similarly, when delusion is thrown off and you are awakened in jnana, you will understand that all this is not you and you are the Atman. This is a very deep study, the study of dream state versus waking state. Only apparently they are different. Actually, they are not different. Only difference is that in the dream, your body and the senses, they are at sleep. Your mind is active. In the waking state, all are active. That is the only difference. Exactly as you see so many things in the dream, and you yourself as a part in the dream, performing something, speaking something, doing something, and so many others, even the dead ones, your forefathers, parents, etc., and so many with whom you may have got any connection or no connection at all. But they are all in your subconscious mind. Something is going on. So in the dream, they get a shape. And you experience all these things. Exactly the same happens in the waking state. Only difference is that your eyes are open, your senses are active. But exactly the same thing happens. For understanding this, for knowing this at least, experiencing this afterwards, understanding this, you have to keep yourself away from you, the pure consciousness. The moment you separate your BMI from your consciousness and keep it there, exactly that BMI is doing exactly the same role as it was doing in your dream, where you saw yourself in the dream. Exact, no difference. And as much as you believe that whatever you experienced in the dream, they were all not at all true. If you are able to separate for half a day, for 1 hour, for half an hour, 15 minutes in the active world, it is easy to say this when you are alone in your puja room. When you separate yourself and see, and you exist as a pure chill, everything that is going on in the world, apparently happening, all you can only smile at all of them, including you, the waker. Everything is untrue. Everything is changing. Everything is in flux, total changing, moment to moment, day to day, time to time, month to month, year to year. Only changeless phenomena. Through and through all your births, where Ramana has told that your Sanchita karmas are paid up for your spiritual involvement. Through and through all your births, the one changeless phenomena is you, the pure consciousness, Atman. This is Swami's conversation. He did not want to miss out, but incidentally, only at that time he happened to see the time. So it was 1.5 hours. So he had to skip it. But he never wanted to leave it, so he's given it now. Now for the roar of the sage from Ananda Kutir in MBCA 1 towards the end. He doesn't know how many of you have gone into real depth. In fact, after these 10 minutes of sharing, the sincere aspirants will understand that this forms the basis of your contemplation on the entire MBCA, not only today, until your death. How? We will see. He had added one Abhimana, so with the permission from the sage, we will change it to Asmita for our understanding. From Avidya originates Asmita. From Avidya, the ignorance of our real identity, that is Avidya, originates Asmita. I am minus I-ness. Other than the pure identity Aham. From Asmita emanates, afterwards the sage follows the exact same sequence. From Asmita emanates Ragadvesha. From Ragadvesha comes Karma. From Karma comes the body. Because we take birth only to clear our karmas. We are very clear from the Karma 3 sessions that upon realization, the Sanchita karmas through bhakti or through jnana, he dealt with both ways. They are rendered impotent, ineffective as roasted seeds. And the prarabdha karma is already in flight. You may be suffering. Your body may be suffering even after you have had realization. But as Janaka wrote, you have got nothing to do with it. And there is no possibility of accumulating any karmas in the future, because white or red arrows, because they are all activities are done only upon realization, only for the benefit welfare of the humanity. So they don't carry any impact backwards to Chitta. So no white, no red, nothing. Up to that, whatever is prarabdha karma, he has to clear. After that, from Jivan Mukta, he attains the Videha Mukta state. He remains without food, without water. If anybody forcefully feed him, it is something else. He will not go and wait for food or wait for anything. The body, as per science, it stays for some days without the body, without food, without water. 6 days or 16 days, whatever. You can refer it, Google it out. After that, he knows when he is going to attain samadhi. That is Videha. Okay. So, where were we? We said from karma comes the body. The body is taken only to clear karmas. And we mistake that the body is meant for so many enjoyments, so many things in the creation. Mudamate. It is only to clear. And in the process, you are adding more karmas. And from the body comes misery. Because as he just told now, once you take up the body, you don't end up using the body purely for clearing karmas and be in sadhana. You end up doing so many things in the process that you are adding more and more karma. More and more karma means more and more misery, bondage, because more and more births you have put in. Now, the sage is reversing the cycle. This reversal we will go one by one. So this is the chain of bondage with 7 links. This is the chain of misery. He has titled it, this is the chain of misery. Now he's coming. From misery, he is going. If you do not want misery, do not take up the body. What does it mean? If you do not want to, if you want to get freedom from the misery of the samsara, if you do not want misery, if you want to get freedom from the misery of samsara, do not take up the body. That means do not be born again at all. Attain realization. Become a Jivan Mukta and the Videha Mukta or an Avaduta. If you do not want body, do not do karmas. He doesn't know how many of you have understood this. Anybody has paid attention to these words at all or not? But now this is the time to give attention. If you do not want to do body, if you do not want body, do not do karma. One may ask, how is it possible? Even a Jivan Mukta realized Shivananda Ji, Chinmayananda Ji, Ananda Mahima, Paramahamsa Yogananda, Ramana, Thakur, all were performing their actions. How you are saying, do not? Do not do the karmas which will fetch you newer arrows. Attain realization and then do karmas. All karmas, apart from the Nitya karma, bathing, having food, etc., all other karmas will be through intuition and for the Loka Kalyan. That is what is meant when he says, the sage says, do not do karma. That is, if you do not want to take up the body, you have to get freedom or realization, which is possible only if your prarabdha karmas are clear. Sanchita karma become ineffective like roasted seeds. That is, you have cleared previous karmas and do not do new karma. Means, do not do karma which will carry impressions back to chitta. Do not carry any arrows at all. Do actions only for the welfare of the humanity. Using pure intellect with no import of impact of karmas back to chitta, and even without the thought that you are using your intellect. You have to transcend your intellect. Intellect is a very, very dangerous thing which can still hold you to samsara when you mistake your pure sattvic intellect for consciousness. Aham. It's a separate chapter altogether. Then the line, if you do not want to do karma, give up ragadvesha. That is, if you do not want to do karma which may fetch you newer arrows, give up ragadvesha. And abhinivesha, of course. This flows from the above. What he said, all the actions have to be through the pure intellect, minus chitta, minus ahankara. And for the welfare, no getting back any impact of those actions. Then, needless to say, it is possible only when the ragadvesha is cut, chitta is cut. So he says, if you do not want to do karma, give up ragadvesha. If you want to give up ragadvesha, give up asmita, backward. As long as you carry that I am this body, I am this mind, I am this intellect, I am this, I am this, I am this, I am this, definitely ragadvesha will crop up. Because, how do I, yeah, you have got a beautiful antique, some piece from some rare antique piece. It may be deity or it may be. You will keep it at the most prominent place at your home. And you will take all care, all precautions, utmost care to see to it that the glow of the antique piece, that the fresh, the cleanliness and the shine of that antique piece is maintained. All your attention will be on the antique piece. Say Buddha or say Ramakrishna. So you are going to be garlanding, you're going to be applying the tilak, you are going to be cleaning it, and you are going to be doing so many things to your all focus is on that. Now come to this example. You forgot that you are the divine self, right? So you have now you due to the ignorance of Vidya, you have mistaken yourself to this BMI. So this BMI has become that antique piece now, the most wanted and the most valuable thing in your life. So imagine how much care you will take of that for preserving the beauty of that physical level, mind, mental level also, and for glorifying that and for gratifying that. So what will happen? Any experience whatsoever, you can run your imagines wide from the worst to the best. Whatever experiences, except for the bliss in the meditation, forget that. Spiritual endeavor, best leave it. Other than that, even in the singing with ego also is included in this. So whatever experience which is able to elevate your ego, that I am this body, this mind, all those experiences and all those people related to those experiences, you are going to like them, raga. And all those experiences, best to worst, okay, it will be bad to worst, no best will come, which have resulted not in glorifying your aham, your BMI, your ego. All of that you are going to hate or dislike, if not hate, dvesha. Right? So, only way, if you do not want to have raga dvesha, you have to give up the asmita. If you have the asmita, I am this. Okay, he often says this Hindi line in this thing. There is a line where it says, "Jinhe sanam bana liya, unhe khuda bana liya." That is the one whom I have treated as beloved. I have treated that my beloved as equivalent to God. So here you are treating your BMI ego as the most beloved thing in the world. So it is equivalent to divinity. You treat you. There is a sect Virochana. I will not get into details. There are few sects in the Hindi philosophy. They believe that the BMI is all. It's divine. Okay. So if you have to give up the raga dvesha, you have to give up the asmita. Otherwise, no way that you can give up raga dvesha. If you want to give up the asmita, you have to give up the avidya. Avidya is ignorance of my divinity. From that is born the asmita. I am not divine, ignorance. So I am something non-divine, BMI. The asmita will not go till the time the avidya doesn't go. And last, O Samya, O Ram, if you do not want ignorance, if you do not want avidya, get Brahmajnana. Brahma Vidya. So, to rule out the avidya, you have to get the perfect Vidya, Brahmajnana. Even as he has shared this, few of you, it would have clicked to at least 2-3 of you. You can form this one particular piece as your prop, your substance for meditation on the MBCA till you attain realization. You have from this, starting from the grossest, where from here, if you do not want body, do not do karma. If I do not want body is the cause for all miseries. If I do not want to get body, I should not do karmas which may fetch me red or white arrows, and so that I need to be born again and again. So I should not take up karma which may get me fresher arrows. If you keep this as the mantra affirmation, you can divide this into 2. Do not get red arrows and then white arrows also. So if I do not want to get red arrows, what are all I should say? I shall or I shall not. Afterwards, even white arrows, then shall not. And then comes a little subtler thing. If I do not want to do all these things, will be, if I do not want to do karma, give up raga dvesha. So give up raga dvesha is the mula mantra. In that, what all I shall or I shall not. Then comes to give up asmita. For giving up asmita, what are all the shall or shall not? Last avidya, shall not. Chapter closes. Afterwards, it is Brahma Vidya. right? What he has given in these 4 lines, can you imagine? Do not have body. From there he starts. And he culminates this in, if you, oh Soumya, if you do not want ignorance, then attain Brahma Vidya. Self realization is the only solution. Nothing apart from that. There is no via media, or there are no shortcuts, or there are no halfway possibilities in this. Because if we think we will keep chanting Hari's name, or if we keep doing selfless service, or if we keep doing prayers, or if we keep meditating for half an hour daily, this if we take up these deliberate steps, where, please note, where we think this is the end of the world. Only prayers, only self-service, only Nama Sankirtanam, only this. If we limit that to that only, we are not aiming for self-realization. And as long as our goal, ultimate goal is not self-realization, please write it and send to him. He will explore a PDF application and then he will download that in PDF and he will sign and send you back. As long as you don't have self-realization as your goal, there is no possibility to erase Raga Dvesha Vidyasmita. No way. Even if you say out, apparently I have transcended the Raga Dvesha, there is no possibility to eradicate the vasanas, the deep-rooted impressions. Even when you think of someone, there is a clarification here. It is not only necessary that you should have had the experience with that object, with that person to carry the vasanas. You have branded yourself. Remember in one of the sessions he said, don't brand yourself. You have branded yourself that I like this, I don't like this, I hate this, I do this, I am like this, I am like, my nature is this, my nature is this. Even if you have not dealt directly with somebody, there will be a political leader or somebody else in a foreign country, if his habits, his or her habits, their nature, their story, it gels very much with your nature, you like them, Raga. If their story, their nature doesn't match with your glorified nature, you do not like them, Dvesha. So there is not even necessity for a direct experience. Right? So unless and until these vasanas are uprooted, golden rule to see the entire world as Swami sees. Only how Swami will see. How Swami will see anybody. He has shared with one satsang. He's just repeating it. And this is the end. One from Delhi, Raja, named Raja. His nickname was Raja. Real name, I don't know. He had gone to murder. Swami. And even believing that he is a Dirgadarshi, he knows that he has come to kill. If I and you were there, what kind of an impression we will carry in our mind? And how Swami, for teaching us, it's needless to even say that Swami doesn't have vasanas, but teaching us in human form, how much he is teaching us that we have to be beyond the vasanas. When Swami goes and gives him Pada Namaskar and blesses him and tells him, come on, you have come for some work, finish it off. I'm standing in front of you. Needless to say, that was the moment of absolute surrender for Raja. So keep Swami as benchmark. No, nothing less than that. No vasanas. No vasanas. That is possible only if you keep the loftiest ideal as self-realization, moksha. Through the normal routine, normal japa, kirtana, this and all, you limit yourself to that, and also it is not incessant 24 hours, it is for a fixed period, and then you are moving around in the world and you don't have the uh, self-realization goal ringing in your ears 24 by 25 by 7, then it is impossible to transcend ragadvesha avidya, ragadvesha abhinivesha asmita vidya. At least it is impossible to transcend vasanas. So the Brahma Rishi has given the last verdict. If you do not want ignorance, get Brahmanyana. It's up to us where we keep our goal. Self-realization, okay, feels good, but I don't. If I will attend, I will do all this japa, dhyana, kirtana, all these things. Little thing I will do. So little of ragadvesha will go. Little of vasanas will go. Not all will go. Or if we say, no, I have reached that state already, I'm self-realized. It is full of vasanas only. Your guru or Swami should say that you are realized. You cannot say that I'm realized. Okay. So unless and until we have the highest goal as realization and work for it, it is impossible to remove the chitta, the deep-rooted impressions, from where the samskaras come and they push, and from samskara vasanas push either directly or through they push the ragadvesha. Self-realization is the only panacea, only permanent cure for transcending all this. मुझे भक्ति दो मेरे साईं शिवा, मुझे मुक्ति दो मेरे साईं शिवा. So he waits for the affirmations from few of you. As he has promised, no follow-ups, no reminders. No comments in the group. Now he gives this responsibility of shouldering the responsibility of your sadhana, and you are setting up your goal. Realization, or somewhere below this, somewhere much below this, somewhere far below this, nowhere near this. Swami's intuition, he will give his best possible efforts. If he has limitations, with that limitations, whatever best possible, he will keep on serving you towards that self-realization goal. The goal setting and the working towards, he leaves it. Hari Om Tat Sat. Jai Sai Ram.